directed Coffee, I Like You a Lot. I'm Keegan Yule. I directed Jesse's Girl.
My name's Caitlin Norton Wyatt. I'm Ashley and Jesse's Girl. I wrote and produced it.
Hi, I'm Sharon Mor. I'm the writer-producer for When We Are Right.
I'm Clark Schaefer. I'm the writer-director of Silence.
Dawn Fields, writer, director, producer, editor, Evie's Christmas Gift.
All right, so obviously all these stories were a little different, at least compared to each other. But, you know, what I always like to ask is, what made you decide to tell the story that we just saw on the screen? So, Dawn, let's start with you.
Well, I've always been fascinated with Christmas and zombies for some weird reason. I actually have a feature film in development called Zombie Elves, strangely enough. And so this was kind of planting a seed for that a little bit. But we really just did it kind of as a little Christmas card to send out to everybody online. We'll be releasing it online this Christmas for free, just to say hi from Palm Street Films. So that was really the main inspiration.
Nice. Mine comes from a lot of Catholic guilt and the voices in your head. All that, just that tug of war that you have with yourself. And so I'd say that's the main inspiration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharon?
Yeah, I'm not Spielberg, so I couldn't tell a Holocaust survivor story, but I just wanted to say, hey, this is our last chance to hear from a first hand a story of a Holocaust survivor, and I just teach myself how to, I read a lot of books about reincarnation and stuff, and most of my film's gonna be around this area of soulmate and why we reborn again to the same family and having the same relationship with the same people over and over again.
Great.
I grew up in the Midwest, and I've had a lot of friends do things that they seem to know in their heart is wrong, and I wanted to explore that with this film.
All right.
And that's where we connected on it, because my parents got divorced, and they just shouldn't have been married to begin with. So big question of why do people stay with people? Why don't you listen to your gut instinct more when you get into something like that?
My own romantic personal life inspired that, and just wanted to just kind of explore something that's a really common occurrence for all of us, trying to find the courage to, whether it's pursuing someone we're interested in or creating a film or anything like that. Making a silent film was interesting because I think that we don't always say what we're actually feeling, so I wanted to make a film that kind of explored what the truth of a real situation is in that case, and often our body is telling us what we should be doing. And, yeah.
Great.
I chose the topic that I did because I just really love a family drama, and I think that's when I thought about what I wanted to do for my first project, it was just where my heart went automatically, was to write something about the complications of relationships with the people you're closest to. They are the least easy and often the most interesting. So that's just where my mind went.
Excellent. So another question I like to ask is about is the casting process. So sometimes you're writing film, with somebody specifically in mind. Sometimes that person comes literally the day of the production, which we've had a couple of stories like that during this festival. But Toby, why don't we start with you? Talk a little bit about how you cast your film.
Okay, so my lead character was Wings Hauser, and that was going to be my hardest to cast, I think. It was one of those things where I did have someone in mind, and I kind of was very coyly pursuing them. I was working with him at the time, and I thought this would be great, and he just was not interested at all. I could not. So on the day that I was sort of giving up on him, we had another actor come to set, and it just sort of, as soon as I saw him, I thought, wow, this would be a much more interesting way to go. So that's how Wings Hauser came to be. And then I was living next door to the man who was my DP, Billy Baird, and Billy Baird's granddaughter, who's up in the audience, Amy Snow, was interested in getting into acting, and she could play the guitar, and so that sort of fit with Wings, and Wings was a musician, and so that's how that happened. And then I was just fortunate enough to have a good friend whose husband was looking to dip his toe in the water, who played our bartender, so
Great.
that's how I got there.
I went to acting school with a few of the castmates. Joya right here in the front row. And one of my best friends played the guy who snatches the saucer and goes back out of the scene. Sheldon Peregrino right there. Had no acting experience at all. Just I asked him, hey, I think you could nail this role just with your epic personality, and would you do it? And he was so down for it. And then a few of the other actors were just people I'd also gone to acting school with, and people I actually played Ultimate Frisbee with here in LA that are also actors. So.
All right.
I'll let Caitlin talk a little bit about the process of casting, but I did want to point out that Marissa, who plays Jesse's sister, is right there in the audience. And we met and wrote it with Caitlin in mind to play the role, so that was an easy one. So.
Yeah, we went out to a couple different places to find our actors. Had friends in mind for stuff, and then we auditioned everybody because we wanted we wanted them to earn the role, like for themselves. I'm an actor, obviously, and I like earning the role instead of just being handed it. And through that, we found Rochelle, who plays the mom, and she crushed. And then we couldn't find the character of Jesse, and I went on 4 first dates with dudes to see if we And I'm married for 9 years, so I ran that by my husband first. But it was great because we actually have like real authentic chemistry. So, yeah.
I just want to say that I think my movie was after yours. And it was bad because my DCP, it was a technical problem in my movie. I didn't know that. I just saw it for the first time. I shot it red, so somebody else would faint or have a nervous breakdown, because I worked 4 years for this film and it was shaky, as you saw. The DCP didn't work, but I didn't know that because the lab is supposed to know that. Anyways, after you, it was like full HD, beautifully, and suddenly it's like shaking movie, and I'm like sweating all over, and it's chilly. Anyways, the lead role in my film, it's Ed Asner, and he's the best. He has a career of 60 years like behind him, and he's well known. This was after the movie Up, so I said he probably not even pick up the phone, or his agent never gonna want to talk to me because who I am. I was a student back then, and I would like to tell a story that I put a tent in front of his house in Studio City and sleep there for a while, but this is not true. After a few months that I was calling back and forth and nobody answered, he suddenly picked up the phone and he said, okay, come over, I'm going to see the script. And I said, right now? He said, right now, yeah, right now. I gave him the script, and he was, he didn't even say sit down. I was like, shaking, standing in front of him, he was reading, and then he went to his library and he took out like a very heavy book, and he said, yeah, you can take it home for a few days and bring it back, because this is what happened to my father pretty much. And he said yes. And cool. Back then I didn't have much money, so it took 4 years for everything to be together. And if somebody see that I'm talking to my brother in one scene, I was like 4 years older than the rest of the film. I saw it, maybe you didn't, but Ed Asner is a legend. And he's still alive. Everybody's asking me, he's still alive? Yeah, he's still alive and he's kicking.
I wrote the lead role for one person specifically. He was in my first short film, and he's an amazing actor, Kevin Ostenstad. And then I went to a couple festivals, and I found 3 other actors I really liked, so I auditioned all 3 of them. And then Jacob was the last person, and each person was actually a little bit better. And and I ended up casting Jacob, and then Julia, who played the neighbor, I found her also at a festival, and the last guy, the last patient was also was one of the I auditioned him for the lead as well, and then the doctor I found on what is it called, Now Casting, I think. Yeah, I just auditioned, or I got a lot of people to try to audition 2 or 3, but yeah, so that's how I did. Mostly
Great.
festivals. Short
Yeah, we
answer.
did, at the time, it was Breakdown Express, I think. Maybe Now Casting Now, I think there was a changeover or whatever. But we just did a traditional call for actors, and it was kind of weird because there was another young actress that we really had our heart set on. We did several rounds of auditions, and we were like, yep, she's the one, we're going to use her. And then Miss Amelia walked in the door and kind of screwed that all up. So I kind of feel bad for that other actress. But yeah, so Amelia walked in, and she actually did the little zombie crawling away from her and scream, the zombie on the floor, and it's like she was just so magnetic and so intelligent and just such a bright spirit that we had to go with her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's open it up to the audience. Do you anybody have any questions for any of our filmmakers up here? And don't be shy.
Shy.
Somebody must have at least one question. Right there.
For Sharon, how long did it take you to get everything done?
To wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's like the time frame was 4 years, but actually I was working on the film maybe altogether 100 days, something like that.
You did amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, before we go, how about one more round of applause for these wonderful filmmakers?